Today we're ranking the top 30 wide receivers in fantasy football. Fantasy season is in full swing now, so you have to know who to be prioritizing in your fantasy drafts from the wide receiver position. So we're going to give you our full breakdown today of the top 30 guys. Do us a huge favor. If you play fantasy football, make sure you drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed. We're going to be bringing you in-season content all season long to help you win your fantasy league, so you'll want to be here and get that information as it comes out. And also, if you play fantasy football and you want to dominate your leagues, flockfantasy.com is the place to be. That is where all of our exclusive content is found, all of our rankings, articles, databases, and we can help you win your fantasy leagues this year. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain. You get 30% off and all of our exclusive content as well. Starting with the S tier, not a ton of argument from this, I would imagine. Justin Jefferson here and Ja'Marr Chase. I know it's a bold take, and we're bold for putting these two guys at the top. But and although these guys haven't really done anything in the NFL yet, we are going to predict that they're going to break out. Obviously, these are two very proven guys. Justin Jefferson, last year he had more than 1,800 yards. He's still very, very young and absolutely dominant. He's one of the best wide receivers we've ever seen play the game, and we're going to continue to draft him at the 101 in fantasy football drafts because he's that dominant. He's going to put up that much production, and he's extremely safe as a fantasy asset as well. And Ja'Marr Chase, a little bit less safe because we've failed to see the consistency from him throughout the years. However, he's still in the S tier here for wide receivers because he is that good. He is that elite from a talent perspective. He is playing with Joe Burrow, one of the best quarterbacks in the game. He's tied to Joe Burrow. And like we said, he's got elite down the field ability. He's got elite yards after catch ability. So because of that, that's going to equal a lot of fantasy points. And it's enough to put him in the S tier still with Justin Jefferson above these next guys.
Yeah, so a big tier here in the A tier. I think all of them are deserving to be here, but Tyreek Hill is going to be up top here. Obviously coming off of his best season ever in fantasy, a year where everyone kind of expected him to be impacted by Jalen Waddle in a negative way, and he just laughed in everyone's faces, and we did too, and he dominated. So going into this season, I think you've got to expect the same thing. And honestly, maybe even a little bit more, because Tua is going to come in fully healthy. They're going to protect him a lot more than they did last season. They've got a solid offensive line, and we're not going to account for more concussions. We're not going to account for Tua getting injured. When Tua is on the field, Tyreek Hill is at his best in fantasy. So we're counting on that. We're excited about it. And apparently, if you scout the opposing defenses on Madden, then you can be just as good a receiver as Tyreek Hill. So yeah, he doesn't watch film. He just scouts out the guys he's playing against on Madden. So Cooper Kupp is up next playing, same situation as last season. And even though the Rams sucked last year, he didn't stop. He didn't slow down. He was on track to have almost as good of a season as he did in 2021. Matt Stafford coming into this season fully healthy. And honestly, even if Stafford goes down, Kupp isn't going to slow down. He transcends really all types of quarterback play. He is elite and has just as much upside as anyone on this list. Stephon Diggs tied to Josh Allen. I mean, how can you not be excited about that? I think Stephon, out of any of the guys in this tier, has the highest floor. You're not really expecting him to be wide receiver 1 overall. And I think because of that, again, that's why he's not at the top of this tier. But look, you're counting on him and you're expecting him to produce at an elite wide receiver level more than any of these guys. Like, anything could happen to anyone else in this tier. Stephon Diggs is the guy I'm counting on more than anyone else. Davante Adams, in a situation that I think is improved with Jimmy Garoppolo playing quarterback, I think it's better than Derek Carr. And we know about his target share numbers, over 30% consistently. He just is a target hog, dominates target share, and he's not slowing down. He didn't show any signs of regression last year. The fact that he's wide receiver 10 on Underdog is a joke to me. I'm taking him over all the guys that we're going to talk about behind him. CeeDee Lamb, who, his best season was wide receiver 7 overall. And yeah, that was with the season where he had a couple down weeks while Dak was injured. But it's just starting to be a trend. Can Dak actually stay healthy for an entire season? I don't know. And that can negatively impact CeeDee Lamb.
Cowboys fans in the comments, dude. They're coming for you.
I know. I'm just being honest. We love CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I love watching him. I loved him as a prospect going into the NFL. And his breakout season last year was so much fun to watch. Really excited to see what he can do this year. And then A.J. Brown at the tail end of this tier. I think you just have to short him a little bit compared to the other guys because he is playing in the same offense as a high rushing upside quarterback, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, and now DeAndre Swift, who has receiving upside as well. we're not going to severely short him because of this. This is just why he's going to be at the end of the tier. I think his ceiling is going to be a little bit more limited than the guys in front of him.
Yeah, in the B tier, we're going to start with Amon-Ra St. Brown. And with Amon-Ra, look, Jameson Williams, honestly, the news from Jameson Williams so far in the last 5 months leading up to this season hasn't really been great. And I'll be 100% honest with you. I think Jameson Williams would actually help Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think when you have a guy like that in the slot, a guy like that that's a high target guy, a field stretcher like JMO really helps. Not only that, I think they acquired Denzel Mims from the Jets, and Denzel Mims got hurt today as well. So they're looking a little bit thin at wide receiver. I mean, this is going to allow for defenses to clamp down a little bit more. However, he is still elite because of the target drawing ability that he has. He's playing with Jahmyr Gibbs. He's playing with Sam Laporta. I mean, don't forget that this is still a fairly good offense if they put it together. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs has the potential to have an impact on that offense as well in a positive light for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he's obviously going to be elite in his own right and has been very good so far in his career. And Garrett Wilson's going to be next. And with Garrett Wilson, I think you could have him higher on this list. I think you could, but we're going to be careful. He is only going to be a sophomore in the NFL. He obviously had 1,000 yards in his rookie year, and he's obviously got a very, very, very large quarterback upgrade with Aaron Rodgers, especially compared to, Mike White, Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco. Yep. But we're not gonna rank him. He's probably less of a sure thing because he's so young and because it could go either way. And that's why we're ranking him down here. However, his upside is that of anybody in the A tier.
I literally think his upside is elite level this year. Yeah, and I think it's absolutely worth the risk, but he does belong in the B tier because he still is technically unproven when it comes to those points.
Yeah.
So starting at the C tier, we're going to have Jalen Waddle at the top of this tier. And I think this is kind of where we're getting to those wide receivers that if they didn't have even more elite options in their offense, they would be elite level from a fantasy perspective, but their ceilings are just capped. Jalen Waddle obviously playing alongside Tyreek Hill, and they do help each other, but Tyreek Hill is still the alpha in that offense, and he is going to take away from Jalen Waddle's ceiling so long as he's there. And the reason Waddle's up top here is because when he does have those boom weeks, I mean, they are like league winning level, championship winning level weeks where he's scoring 40 plus points in a game. He's going to have some down weeks, but look, it's still Jalen Waddle. I'm still counting on that big playability. We really like him here. Then Chris Olave is going to be real consistent for you, real consistent. Yep. And going into an offense where he's no longer playing with Andy Dalton, he is playing with Derek Carr. We don't love Derek Carr. He was bad last year, but I don't think he can be much worse going into this season with the New Orleans Saints. We don't think Michael Thomas or really anyone else in that offense is going to take away from Olave. Olave is the guy. He is the primary option there. I think he's going to be a high floor guy and another limited ceiling guy just because of the situation in New Orleans. They're not really a powerhouse or a super high octane offense or anything like that. Devontae Smith, we have Devontae Smith over T. Higgins. Devontae Smith is the guy that's actually finished the season as a wide receiver 1. Oh, but Domain guys, on a points per game basis, T. Higgins actually averaged 17 points per game, which would have been good for, I don't care. Did he actually play an entire season? No. Did he screw you last year in fantasy? Yes. Devontae Smith didn't.
Correct.
And that's that. I mean, T. Higgins is going to be at the end of this tier because he does deserve to be. We do like T. Higgins as an NFL wide receiver, but we're really low on him in fantasy, and we're really low on him also in dynasty. And with him, look, he's going to be relatively consistent for you. He's going to get a consistent amount of targets every single year while he's tied to Joe Burrow. But so long as he is also playing alongside Jamar Chase, who is a target hog, and even Joe Mixon, who's going to take a lot of touchdowns away in the red zone, I'm really concerned about T. Higgins' upside, and I think it's limited even more than the guys in front of him.
Yeah, moving down to the D tier here, we're going to start with Deebo Samuel. Deebo, I mean, look, we're obviously predicting a bounce back year for Deebo Samuel, and we have him ranked 2 tiers above Brandon Ayuk. So that should tell you what we think about the 49ers offense this year. And yes, we do know that Ayuk consensus does go higher and is projected more points. We understand that. It is our rankings. We are ranking Deebo higher. Amari Cooper now is playing with Deshaun Watson. You saw what he did last year with Jacoby Brissett. Now, take that and multiply it by a number that's going to give you a higher amount of points, because that's what's going to happen with Amari Cooper. He's in a better situation. He's not really shown signs of slowing down yet. He's going to be in a good offense on a very good contending team this year, so we expect a lot of fantasy output from him. He could honestly be higher on this list because he finished as a wide receiver 1 last year. Calvin Ridley's going to be next. With Calvin Ridley, look, he has some of the highest ceiling of anybody in this tier, but he's also fairly risky. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's really not played football in 2 years, and a lot of people just want to shrug that off, but it does mean something. That said, we know that the talent that Calvin Ridley is, we know his route running abilities, and we know he's playing with Trevor Lawrence, so he deserves to be here as well. Jerry Jeudy's going to be next. With Jerry Jeudy, look, I think this is going to be largely dependent on how Russell Wilson does this year and if Jerry Jeudy is able to stay on the field. If Jerry Jeudy is able to stay on the field, his potential is going to be a high-end wide receiver too. We've known this for a long time. Jerry Jeudy just needs to put that together. Drake London's going to be next, and with Drake London on the Falcons offense, I mean, it's just not the most ideal situation with Desmond Ridder being the quarterback there. With Arthur Smith being the coach, he's going to run the ball a lot. Bijan Robinson's going to see a ton of work this year. You also have Kyle Pitts. We do like Drake London over Kyle Pitts in terms of who's going to generate, the most volume in that offense. So we'll put Drake London here, and then DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins is just kind of a wild card. He obviously has the upside to score up to guys in the A tier. Still, he does. And he did when he played last year. He's playing in a Tennessee Titans offense, which is meh. And he's playing with Ryan Tannehill, and that's kind of meh as well. But with DeAndre Hopkins, we know what he's capable of. We know he's elite, so we have to put him here.
Yep. Then in the F tier here, we're going to have Jackson Smith and Jigba up. It is the F tier, though. There's no E tier. JSN. Look, we're calling our shot here on JSN. We'll show you DK2 right behind JSN. This is a big shot that we're calling, but honestly, I don't really think it's as aggressive as people make it sound. And we're going to have people in the comments say, you guys, your take is crap. Honestly, saying JSN is a better wide receiver than DK, yeah, I'm absolutely saying that. I'm saying it to your face, and you can crap on me in the comments for it, because JSN was drafted in the first round for a reason. He is literally a glorified Amon-Ra St. Brown from a prospect perspective, and he's better prospect. He's going to light it up. He's absolutely going to light it up. Look what he did with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave in college, outproducing both of them, dominating. He is going to thrive in this offense where DK is going to be a phenomenal field stretcher, but that's going to limit his fantasy upside. That's why DK is going to be behind JSN here. Look, DK is super consistent. Super nice floor. He's going to get you about 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. As a talent, really like him as a talent. He's super big. He's a really big body.
One of the most athletic receivers.
Yeah, he'll get you some contested catches, but look.
But don't act like he's...
Don't act like he's elite or better than JSN when they literally spent a first-round pick on JSN.
But Nathan, he had 141 targets last year. Yeah, on like a 68% catch rate or something. It didn't translate to that many receptions, and it didn't translate to that many points. The dude was a wide receiver too. That's what we're going to put him.
Basically saying that his target quality rating was very low because they were taking shots downfield with DK primarily.
Lockett scored more points last year, and why JSN is going to be open all the time.
Yep. Christian Watson is going to be next year. And honestly, I think there's an argument to be made to take Christian Watson even over DK. Because I really like Christian Watson as an NFL talent. I think you're kind of looking at the same situation, though, in Green Bay, where, you're kind of questioning, is he going to be their primary field stretcher where Jayden Reed is going to play more in the slot? Jayden Reed is another guy that, he has Tyler Lockett comps. And this isn't just from us. This is from guys that are even better experts than us. Jayden Reed is very comparable to Tyler Lockett, and that means he's going to be getting a lot of slot work. And then you're also looking at Romeo Doubs as well, who's kind of that short to intermediate option, and then you got Aaron Jones. So look, Christian Watson's best skill set, and he demonstrated this last season with Aaron Rodgers, is deep ball and good red zone stuff as well. We do like him in the red zone. So look, you take your shot on DK or Watson. DK's shown it for multiple years. Watson, I would argue, maybe has more upside this season, but I do trust Seattle's offense a little bit more, so that's why we will have Watson behind DK. Mike Williams up next. Look, he has wide receiver 1 upside. He showed it 2 years ago. He even showed it last year. He was just injured for a majority of the season. And I think at this point, you got to be wondering, this might be baked into his value. So Keenan Allen, same thing with him. Look, he's over 30 years old. He's starting to flirt with hamstring issues, and you're bringing in Quentin Johnston. Justin Herbert's going to throw the ball a lot more. There's going to be a lot more volume there, but I am concerned about both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I'm going to bet on Mike Williams this season, though, over Keenan. Then Terry McLaurin at the tail end of this tier. We know what Terry is. He's a mid-wide receiver 2. If you want safety, if you want guaranteed points in the wide receiver 2 range, please take Terry, but you want to make sure that you have an elite wide receiver 1 over that guy. He's definitely not the first guy you want to be drafting on your board there. So
yeah, dropping down in the G tier to finish it out here. Christian Kirk's going to be next, and Christian Kirk, I think you could make an argument for him to be higher on this list as well. And we're putting Calvin Ridley 2 tiers above him, but Christian Kirk is still going to get all the work he was getting last year out of the slot because Calvin Ridley is not a slot wide receiver. So expect Christian Kirk to be very productive again this year, and he has a higher ceiling than where he's ranked. Chris Godwin, of course, that is also true for him. Chris Godwin's one of the better wide receivers in the league and consistently underrated in fantasy football. And with Chris Godwin, it's going to be all about the targets he's able to get. He has a shorter average depth of target, but he also has some serious tremendous yak ability. So that's going to rack up some fantasy points. Even with bad quarterback play, he's proven that he can be a fantasy producer. Michael Pittman's kind of the same way. With Michael Pittman, I mean, people want to point to Anthony Richardson and say, well, he can't produce with the rookie QB. They clearly did not watch last year when Matt Ryan, Sam Ehlinger, and Nick Foles were throwing Michael Pittman the ball. And a lot of people are going to point to the fact that the Colts were 8th in passing volume last year, so that he was able to get those targets. And look, I'm going to tell you this right now. I think people are expecting the Colts to be the new Baltimore Ravens running the ball, and I will tell you that Shane Steichen is not going to do that. He is going to run the ball a fair amount, but especially if they have issues with Jonathan Taylor being on the field, Michael Pittman's going to be a beneficiary in that offense. Expect him to produce this year more than what people are saying, and even maybe more than this. And Deontay Johnson, and look, all these guys are, I love this this G tier. Love all these guys. Deontay Johnson was a guy last year that really just had an outlier season. He had 0 touchdowns. It's a pretty safe bet that he's going to come back, get a lot of targets again this year. So in PPR leagues, it makes him hyper valuable, and even add some touchdowns go on to that. So Deontay Johnson's a guy definitely to watch out for in this bottom tier of guys.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, man. I mean, if you want to take this G tier and put it over the F tier, just flip them. Zero problem with that whatsoever. I mean, at this point, we just had to do a tier break, and this is how.
That's the hard part about rankings, guys, and it's not going to be how ADP is. A lot of people will say, "Oh, these are the worst rankings."
It's going to depend on who stays healthy for the entire season.
It's all. I mean, there's just so much parity with how it all sorts out. So you just have to be careful when you're evaluating other people's rankings because it literally could go anyway. So do us a huge favor. Make sure you drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe. Head over to flockfantasy.com/domain for all of our exclusives and to help you win your fantasy leagues. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys later.